Hello, back to another 5 channel. I'm James, your book corner, and today we are here to talk 5-star predictions. So 5-star predictions are interesting. I've decided to divide them up by month. I think this is the only month there's 2 books in April, but I decided to divide them up in months. That way we can just have like a clean going forward. It's my best guess. There's still only 5, and it's still from that list that I posted earlier this year. The first 2 that we're going to be talking about it's a new Stephen Graham Jones. It has a title Hunter x Hunter or Buffalo Hunter x Hunter or something along those lines, which I know has to do with vampires. I'm not exactly sure what the extent of vampires is, but I know it has to do with vampires. And then we also have Retreat by Kristen Ritter, which is the one we're going to start with, as that was the one that I got the first. I got it first. I do have the new Stephen Graham Jones as well. Technically, I've had the new Stephen Graham Jones for a while now. I just couldn't get into it physically. There's something about it that was a little dense, and I was like, oh, I feel like an audiobook could like really shape it for me. Part of the problem. I've had an e-arc for a minute now. I'm really excited to read it, and we will get to it, and I'll talk about it in this video. The way these 5-star predictions do go, I update you as I go along. If I read 60% tomorrow, or if I finish it tomorrow, I'll come in with a second update. If the book takes me 4 or 5 days to complete and I'm making thorough progress on it, I'll come in and update you every single day that I read it. It just depends on the content and what I can talk about. There are no spoilers here. I know last year I think I did include spoilers, and the way those work is if I feel like the book needs it and I have something to talk about. If that's the case, the screen will turn this color, so you are highly aware. Also, because this video is broken into 2 different books, and you might not care about one or the other, I will put chapter times down below, so you can click on whatever book you desire. Okay. That being said, we are starting with The Retreat, Retreat, a novel by Kristen Ritter. This is Kristen Ritter's second novel. She is a really famous actress, and she's also done quite a few audiobooks and podcasts and stuff as well. On the side, like web podcasts where it's like a story-based podcast. I don't know. The other one is called Bonfire. I own it. It's sitting on my shelf somewhere, and I loved it. I gave it like a 4.5 when I read it. That one was an environmental thriller. This one is a con artist book. I don't know where this is going, so I'm not entirely sure where we're headed. I know shit's about to hit the fan. I'm 20-something% into it, and shit hasn't fully hit the fan yet. But we're following a main character. I think her name is Lizzie, but I'm also not 100% sure. I've heard 4 different names from this main character so far. She's very ditzy. She's very smart, don't get me wrong, but she has the persona of someone who doesn't look like she's pretty smart. Is the vibe I get. But she is a con artist. She steals a bunch of different things, and when we meet her, she's in the middle of a very long con. She just finished it. It's in Chicago, and she gets the money that she wants, and she gets the stuff that she wants, but she decides that she needs a little bit of break, and she gets a perfect message sending her across the globe into Mexico, essentially being like, hey, do this for me for a week, and, you know, we can continue on. Because a part of her con is, like, she's, like, this artist who gets these, like, very specific paintings that are not real, and she sells them for an ungodly amount of money, and then she takes the money, and then the person never gets the painting, but it can't be traced back to her type of thing. That's, like, her main con. And that is becoming an issue, as we are finding out that there's a family that she has done this to, and it's a problem. She's also taken the persona of someone that she goes here with. So essentially Elizabeth, or Lizzie, I think, or maybe that's how I got Lizzie, I don't know. She ends up coming to this place, the house set, essentially, and install a painting that she had said will be coming, and it probably won't ever come. She ends up going to this house, and she ends up being down, and she's enjoying herself, but she's a bit reckless is something that we're understanding. It's a very big character trait. Overall, right now, I would say the problem here is I read a book not too long ago. I think maybe it was last year. Okay, I read it last December, and it's called Lucky. It's getting adapted into a show. There's already been set photos and stuff from it, and it feels very similar in concept between this and Lucky, and I think that's what's like really screwing with my head is the extreme similarities in content between the two. Also, I'm not gonna lie, the audiobook is read by the author or by the celebrity, and sometimes I have a hard time really connecting with the character when it's the voice of the person I really admire or like, and I'm a huge fan of Kristen Ritter's fan, like from her acting work, and I don't know if she's doing enough to like really like dive me into this character when it feels almost like I'm reading a memoir. It's such a weird experience. But yeah, I'm 20-something% into it. When I'm a bit deeper, I'll come back, or when I finish it, I come back. We'll see what happens. We'll see what type of twists and turns we go on with the book. Alright, hi. Let's come in here and close out this first section for 5-star prediction. We are going to be talking spoilers for Retreat. There's just no way I can, because I have a very clear distinction that Kristen Ritter should have went in instead of going in. Okay? So, Retreat, now that I have a little bit more understanding, I'll kind of explain it to you. Follows a girl. Her name is Elizabeth or Lizzie, and she ends up becoming this other woman. Isabella is the person she ends up becoming. And about 25% into the novel, so this is a slight spoiler, but I do believe it's probably in the synopsis. These two people one of the people she ends up coming and her husband end up dead, and a rock slide that she ends up witnessing, and she doesn't know these people, and so they end up dead. And so she assumes the identity of Isabella. She's trying to escape a bunch of people, and she really likes the community, and so the story follows. And it pretty much follows all the way up. There's some twists and some turns, all the way up until part 3, which is 80% of the novel. And then at the end of part 3, there is a very big twist. I saw it coming probably 40% in, but it is the big twist of the novel. I had a theory, I guess I should say. I had 2 theories. One of them did not end up placing, the other one did end up placing. Both came to fruition, just not in the ways that I had originally planned. One of them did, the other one did not. And the other one didn't fully plan out the way either. There's a lot of layers to the one twist that ends up hopping up towards the third act of the novel. And then the author decides to do something different for part 3 and the epilogue. The epilogue and prologue are basically like they're just broken in half. I wouldn't be surprised if they were written together and then decided, no, I feel like this section should be before the novel starts, this section should be at the end of the novel based on the information that we have. Also, in the acknowledgments, it is revealed that she had a co-writer, and I don't understand how 2 people plus all the editors that you get when you are traditionally published, and the amount of eyes that were on this manuscript didn't be like, this is a huge structural problem. And I feel like your third act twist should be your midpoint. And then you should just explore these 2 very vastly different dynamics for the rest of the novel, as that is what your novel is about. However, I feel like maybe that was the original intent. I have 2 comp titles for you, okay? Well, I have one big comp title and then one somewhat small. It's con artist angle. I'm starting to go lucky on this one. It felt very similar, even down to how the cons originated with the person and what they're trying to escape. Not that her entire the con, what I thought was going to be a bigger problem ended up being a really small issue for the entire novel, and left open for a continuation. I don't think we're getting a sequel to Retreat. It didn't get fully wrapped up. The second one, and this is what's going to give it away, so these are complete spoilers by this point, just give you a heads up. I gave it a 3.75. I would kind of recommend it. I think I personally prefer Bonfire over this one, if I remember correctly, but it's been a long time since I read that, and so who knows, maybe I'm making up some shit. But in my brain, I'm thinking I did enjoy Bonfire over this one. This one was a somewhat of a disappointment to me, and I can't figure out if it's the way I read it or not. Something in a joke, but yeah, okay, jumping into full spoilers in the comp title. It would be Gone Girl. And if you don't know what Gone Girl is, and you don't know the twist for Gone Girl, well, then I guess if you read Retreat, I would kind of recommend Gone Girl. I think it does it better. Once again, I've not read Gone Girl since I was in 6th or 7th grade, so I don't really have a lot of words on, or maybe 8th or 9th grade. Anyway, I don't have a lot of words on if Gone Girl holds up and if it's a good novel. The movie holds up, and I just feel like they did the twist better. Also, the placement of the twist is better. And that's what we're going to talk about. So the whole point of Retreat is that this girl, Isabella, wants to kill her husband. She's a murderer. She has all these attraction names like Suzanne. She already murdered a girl. And she has all these fascinations with murdering. Okay, she's a psychopath, essentially. Such an interestingly complex character that gets introduced very late into the novel. Okay? And I feel like if the reveal of Isabella, and it's more like you're revealing it to me and not to somebody else. So I can understand where the complexities comes into trying to build a good novel between these 2. I get that, but I feel like she should have tried to figure it out, or maybe she did and it didn't work. I don't know, but I just think logically revealing Isabella and having that be the midpoint and maybe breaking up into 4 parts. I'm not entirely sure because each part, first 2 parts follows what I assume would be our main character of Lizzie. The third part is entirely of Isabella, but we're explaining Isabella's entire story. And I personally feel like if we would have learned that Tilly is Isabella halfway through the novel, it'd been so much more interesting. It got so much more dynamic. Also, there's this she's a psychopath, so she doesn't love her, but there's this really, really strong queer kinship to her, which I don't know how much I love, because I don't know how much the representation is great. I think it would have been really interesting to explore, and I feel like I could have really gotten something out of it. So that's my opinion. I feel like we spend too much time on the friends and all this other stuff and playing a murder mystery and figuring out, oh, is this what it is? Is this what it is? To some people could be really interesting, but because I had guessed probably about 40% in that the twist is that this is going to be this random girl, why would we continue going around? Also, this girl knew right away. Hey, knew her, which I think was the issue. I think that's what really stuck out to me is that Tilly was not liked and that she knew Isabella. And it made me think, okay, if she knows Isabella, then like why is she not telling everybody that she's a fraud? And that's also the other part of this novel that I think kind of irked my nerves and I had a hard time just committing to the bit about is the fact that you really have to understand that all these people have never met this woman before. And I think up to a certain point, up to when Oliver's brother shows up, Darren or something along those lines, who really did like this girl, who knew this girl wasn't who she said she was, which makes so much more sense. But I wish it wasn't a throwaway line before he dies, because it just doesn't make any sense to me that he's like going into this like really fully committed relationship knowing that there's a lie. But he also has a lot coming out of it. And I do think he's using her in a way to get what he wants. But it's just I feel like I'm grasping for more straws than there actually are there. I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm convincing myself it's a 4, when in reality the actual writing of it all is not a 4. I think I'm putting more layers to what's actually like in the novel. Which is not the best thing to say, but I think it's true. And that's this one. I have started the next book, which is Buffalo Hunter x Hunter, which I do have a feeling could be a true 5. Christian Ritter, I wasn't 100% sure, but this one I have a very strong feeling it could be a true 5. Also, I said in the intro that this is for April books. This is for March. I don't know what I was talking about. Hello, let's close out this 5-star prediction video. Essentially, I did read the entirety of Buffalo Hunter x Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. Jump into the book and let me tell you a little bit of what it's about, my thoughts and opinions. I don't really have any spoilers to talk about here. I have some spoilers detailing what the story is about, like some mythology stuff, but outside of that, I don't really have anything to say. I don't really have a lot to say on the novel overall. This is objectively a 4. Both the books that I read, honestly, putting them together, this makes Retreat really seem like it's like a 3, like 0.25, and this is a 4. But they're so vastly different that, like, they're both. I think I gave it a 4. Did I give Retreat a 3.75? My brain's thinking a 3.75, which means that's probably what it really truly should be. If it's not, and I was just being kind. But that's okay, that's so close to a 4, so if I gave it a 4, it's not really a big deal. And with Buffalo Hunter x Hunter, the story follows a woman, right? She's our first perspective we jump into for a very short period of time at the beginning of this novel. It follows a woman as she is going to translate the copy of her great-grandpa's old diary / journal. It's very allotted. A lot of people want to read it, and so she is translating it into a copy that people can read because of the story that's told inside it. We have 2 stories being told simultaneously inside this journal. We have the violent one, and then the non-violent one. Okay, the non-violent one is her great-grandpa's story. It's detailing the accounts of his life during this period of time. And the other one is an Indian in the 1903 or something along those lines. Really long time ago, maybe 1913. I think it's 1913. Over the course of it's like 6 months or something. That's the storyline that was the most interesting throughout the novel. When we kept switching back to the other perspectives, I found the novel to be slightly boring and not as interesting. Like, I just kept waiting for the next section. We'll go back to this other perspective. Because this other perspective has a lot going on. I don't really care about studies. I mean, I understood the whole point of both of the other perspectives and why they're equally as important as this third one is. But the third one just is more intriguing. And we're dealing with like a whole new version of these creatures that are being talked about and things, which I think is also so cool. Let's jump into slight spoilery territory. So that's like the basis of the plot, and you're learning about these 3 different characters. If you're here for the girl, you're like, oh my god, a female perspective. This is not really the book for you because she has only a handful of chapters and it's not a lot of page time. However, her grandpa and the other character inside this, the Native American, they both have immense amount of page time. So I will not lie. I do personally believe it's better than the other. Both served their purpose. And I also really liked the whole, like, when it came together in the end, I really liked the whole perspective of it all. However, I've read other books that have done similarity things. We're talking Taylor Jenkins Reid has done this several times. Other authors have done it as well. And I do find that this might not be my favorite version of this, because this book does deal with supernatural mythical creatures in it as well. My brain did think back to an interview with Vampire. However, I don't have good memories reading that, so I can't say that's a good cop either. But I'm just saying, especially because, like, for instance, the TV show on AMC is so amazing, and I would highly recommend that if you're interested in vampire stories in general. I think you get something out of that. And we just saw Sinners the other day, and that was like a 5 out of 5 beautiful masterpiece of a film, all also having to do with supernatural creatures set on a backdrop of something already horrific going on and seeing what that looks like. And this is another one of those things where we're in a time where Native Americans are being hunted down. They're being killed off greatly. And then this whole other perspective comes in. And this whole other thing. And it's about this guy trying to figure out what to do with it while also trying to survive it, which is so interesting. That being said, let's talk about the elephant in the room. I think I'm going to turn the color. I think it's going to go black and white just because I think, in my opinion, the supernatural elements are spoilery territory. They don't pop up until 25 to 30% into the novel, which I think by that point, there's certain people who might not even get to it because of it. But it also might be the driving force, so it's your choice. I don't know if it's in the synopsis. However, I do believe when I heard about it, this was like one of the pitches. I use Sinners as a great example here because when Sinners originally was pitched, it was pitched as a certain supernatural type movie, and then Warner Brothers tried to, like in the marketing campaign, take that away, and then last minute put it in. That being said, let's just quickly, with this perspective, talk about vampires. This story is all about vampires, okay? That's the whole thing. I'm using all these subtitles for this reason. This is a story about a man who ends up coming in contact with a creature, ends up becoming said creature because of it. However, this is vastly different for two reasons. The vast differences come in the fact that he does have to drink blood to be able to survive. However, whoever he drinks the blood of, we're talking animals to different people, he will slowly become that person. He still has regenerative factors. He can still die by the sunlight. He can still die by stakes, doing all this. He can also get blown to shreds. The more blood he loses, the less likely he is to survive. All very fucking cool, very detailed. It's a very bloody, very violent ride because of this, and I very much enjoyed that perspective the most for that reason. That being said, let's go ahead and call it a day. I read Retreat for you guys in this video. I gave it a 4, not a 5. We're still hunting for it. And I also read this, which I also gave a 4, not a 5. That being said, I'll see you guys all very soon with another video soon. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.